Not today, no.
No, I mean then.
Well,
Then it was, we used to have about 400 different varieties of carrots, but for some reason, a couple of hundred years ago, they decided to standardise them and they got rid of all the different carrots and just, we ended up with just the orange one.
Getting to the survival side of it,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't travel abroad now with knives and things like that because, I mean, Ray Mears goes there, but he's got all his equipment, you know, I mean, it's in the luggage hold and it's all put out there, but they say to you, you know, when you're on these, if a plane goes down or whatever like that, you're not allowed to have a knife on you, Tommy, and really, it's a joke in one way. I mean, I've got a tin here, a tobacco tin, everything in there I can survive on. Believe it or not, I mean, you were laughing about that goat, the ram with the blue.
Yeah.
It's a fact. I've got a small glass. It's an old thick magnifying glass. Well, it was taken out of something.
Yeah.
I use that for lighting fires. That's when you got sun. But failing that,
no, I tried that when I was a kid. You cannot start a fire with a magnifying glass.
I beg to differ.
Well, no, you can't.
Of course
I
you can.
tried until I was blue in the mouth.
Yeah, well,
I was doing it wrong.
Okay.
All right, okay, listen, we've got the news.
Yeah.
You stay there, all right? And we'll have this out immediately after the news, okay?
Okay,
I don't believe it's possible to start a fire using a magnifying glass. Tony and Crawley's going to tell us how right after news, travel and weather, which is next. BBC Southern Counties Radio. Good afternoon.
This Saturday lunchtime, I'll take you back to the summer of love.
If you're going to San Francisco.
1967 gave us Flower Power, the Frisbee, and a brand new radio station.
The voice of Radio 1.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the exciting new sound of Radio 1.
Give me a ticket for an aeroplane.
Hear the news stories, fads and anthems from 1967.
Like a puppet on the street.
Rewind with Alison Ferns.
Saturday lunchtime at 1.
Like a puppet on a
BBC Southern Counties Radio.
string.
Talking about scats earlier on, Jean says a ram covering a sheep is called tupping, probably the gadget described as a tupper, and the shop, which was mentioned, SCAT, it stands for Southern Counties Agricultural Trading Society, and that's where you can buy one of these harnesses, which they put on the ram, which has a crayon on. A crayon, she said, didn't Andy say it? A crayon on the front, so that the following morning you can find out just how busy the ram has been. Fantastic. 08459 570057. We're talking survival. We're talking Tatsfield, which is our place of the day, and the worm, which is the beast of the day. Good afternoon to you.
At junction 13, a lorry's gone into the side of a car. It's almost all on the hard shoulder, but the back of the car is actually stuck out into the inside lane. The people involved on the hard shoulder at the moment, waiting for the police. Traffic flowing well past the scene, just slowing down, just right by the scene. It tends to get a little bit heavy just as people slow down to look. Elsewhere, though, we seem to be fine at the moment. Just checked with Newhaven camera room, Hastings camera room. They say, yeah, things for them are fine at the moment. The 5:30 Transmarsh sailing Newhaven to Dieppe is rescheduled for 4 o'clock this afternoon because of tidal restrictions. You can update us on 08459 570057. I'm Chris Lambert, BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
I'm going to sound thick here, Chris, but when you say Newhaven, Cameroon and...
Newhaven and Dieppe?
Yeah. Cameroon?
Oh, you mean the Cameroon census?
Sorry.
Yeah.
What?
I talk to them every day.
Oh, okay.
The Cameroons.
Oh, the Cameroons give you the information?
That's right.
Just asking.
Yeah. They're very well up on travel news.
Thank you. I know two things now I didn't know when the programme started. Thank you, Chris. The other one has to do with the sheep harness and the crayons, which I will get to in 5 minutes. The weather. Cloudy, mostly dull day today, very mild, 11 centigrade, 52 Fahrenheit. Tonight staying mostly cloudy with a little light rain, 6 centigrade, which is 43 Fahrenheit. Saturday, overcast, outbreaks of rain becoming prolonged, eventually clearing in the evening, 9 centigrade, 48. And the outlook for Sunday to Tuesday. Cloudy again on Sunday, little rain at times. Brighter Monday with sunny spells and mostly dry, but very windy on Tuesday with outbreaks of rain, and some of it could be heavy.
Tommy Boyd on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Now, Just before the news, we were talking to Tony in Crawley and about survival, which is one of the things we're talking about on the programme this afternoon, because of the Ray Mears programme. And, Tony, somebody at the BBC says that you're right. It's our Heather who's emailed me from our other studio. She says she used to start fires with her dad's magnifying glass in the back garden because she wanted to heat wire up. And I tried it a lot when I was a boy because it seemed like fun, didn't it? And I could usually get the paper to smoulder.
Oh, well, that's what you was using, Tommy.
Ah, so
you
go
don't
on.
use paper.
Okay.
The best thing to use, really, I mean, if you could, well, you're not going to find this, but if you've already, when you get a fire going, you get hold of some material and just put it in there and char the material.
What
the
material?
linen.
What you mean? Oh, cloth.
Yes,
Right.
and package that, because that is ideal for starting fires.
Cloth
you only
will
need
burn.
small bits of that.
What about if you're lucky enough to have some lighter fluid? Could you soak would that
No.
speed up the process? No.
Yeah, it would slow up the process.
Would it?
I mean, another tip, you know these matches, the red ones that you used to be able to use on...
Non-safety ones.
Yeah, just buy a packet of those and get every one of them. And if you're in doubt at all, just put some candle wax. Just cover the tips in candle wax. That means if they get wet, it doesn't matter, because all you do then is wipe the wax off on your material, and then use the match as a striker.
You sound
Another
like
thing
one
you
of
can
these
use.
blokes who's been into this. Go on, keep going.
A broken hacksaw blade, because of the teeth on it, and you know the inside of a round battery, you know, a U2 battery.
Okay.
The inside of that is carbon,
Right.
and you've got a carbon stick. Then all you do then is you run your hacksaw blade across it. It causes sparks, and you can use that for lighting fires.
Okay.
Another thing for carrying water around is a French letter. It's the ideal thing. It's very small. It's compact. When you get to a place and you need to carry water, you can carry about a gallon in one of those.
No. I don't... Well, maybe the ones that you buy.
Well, no, a standard
Are you
one.
serious?
A gallon. Well, let's say a 2 pint then, shall we? Or even 4 pint. I don't know. I mean...
It's the kind of thing I'm sorely tempted to get my producer to nip out by, and then we can check it.
Well, there you
It
go.
should be done.
It is an idea. That is something that they teach people on all survival courses, to carry one with it.
Well, broadcasters, whenever they were going anywhere near water, always used to carry a packet because rather than get your microphone wet, we used to insert it into a prophylactic and tie it, and get a rubber band round it,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't inhibit the sound, but it would keep the thing waterproof. But you're saying that in the wild, if you're surviving and you have a supply of fresh water,
Yeah.
but you want to move away from that supply of fresh water, you could carry it in a condom.
Correct.
Good God.
I was also taught, you know, I mean, on edible regarding hedgehogs and things like that. You know, I mean, at the end of the day,
Listen, you fancy this, don't you? You would
I've
actually...
done it. I've done it.
What's your record then? How long have you gone just living off the wild?
Well, no, I wouldn't say I haven't done it as a record, but I mean, I've gone out for the odd week and I've just disappeared. Because I get away from that. To me, it's like a holiday, if you know what I mean. It's not I don't class it as a challenge, because so long as you know what you're doing, I'm quite comfortable, Tommy.
You don't need a mattress.
Well, I go with the correct things. I'm not with a backpack.
When was the last time you had one of these away weeks then?
It was probably about 10 years ago now, because my health's gone down.
Okay.
I can't walk as well as I used to be able to.
But what did you take with you, provisions-wise? Did you take water with you, or did you find water?
I took a small bottle with me, if you know what I mean.
An emergency supply of water?
Yeah.
But supposing then you came upon a stream, would you be prepared to drink the water from a stream?
If it's flowing, yeah, but the thing is, I
it's
always
flowing.
boil it first before. I don't put any pills in it, which
So
you can
would
buy
take...
today.
Yes, you can. Purification pills.
Yeah, I
You-
don't bother with that.
No, but so what would you take with you then? Your magnifying glass? No, you take some
I'll
matches.
take 3 types of fire lighting gear.
Right.
Very small. I mean, it all goes in a tobacco tin.
Okay.
I've got a knife that I do carry around with me. It's a pen knife, but once it opens up, you can't. It's really sharp. Over in this country, you don't need the larger knives that you do abroad for walking through jungles or anything like that.
What have you caught to eat?
What have I caught?
And how did you do it?
Homemade snares. On the fish side, there are ways of doing it. Well, there's two types of. You can tickle fish, but you can also put the battery electrode from the battery.
I've been to a survival site. Hang on a second, and it says that you should cook all freshwater fish because of the possibility they have parasites. Here's something I didn't know. You probably did. It says also cook saltwater fish caught within a reef or within the influence of a freshwater source as a precaution. But here's the bit I didn't know. Any marine life obtained further out to sea will not contain parasites because of the saltwater environment, and you can eat them raw.
Yeah, well, the only raw fish that I've ever eaten is when I lived out in Africa and I hung it. I skinned it, filtered it, and just hung it up in the sun. And that's like eating biltong, which is meat that they don't cook. It's done in strips.
Yeah.
And it's hung in the sun.
This all sounds so rewarding to be able to live off the planet.
Well, that's what man used to do, didn't we?
Yeah.
And, I mean, this thing about people. I mean, the fox, as you come into the park, a fox doesn't carry keys, but they do a lot of damage. They will not just kill one thing; they kill the bloody lot. But the human.
Yeah.
We won't go and kill. Well, we just kill to eat.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it is survival of the fittest. When you ever put into that quandary, you've got to think that way. You can't think, oh, blimey, I don't eat meat, I'm a vegetarian. At the time, you might not be able to have the vegetable side around you, so you're going to have the meat.
Wise words. Thank you for your wisdom and all your little stories about,
all right, Tommy,
about surviving off the fat of the land or the thin of the land or whatever. Well done.
Thank
you. I
Bye-bye.
bow to your superior knowledge, and if Tony says that you can start a fire with a magnifying glass, it's cloth that you should be starting to light, not paper, then I reckon he knows his onions, doesn't he? 08459 570057. We're about 5 minutes away from Radio Yoga, and then it's in off the street. Let's take one from Lionel Richie and then have a word with Mike in Farnborough.
You are my destiny. You are my one and only. You gave that joy to me when my whole life was lonely.
Very posh building. Lovely building.
Yes, lovely. Except, of course, it was, 24-hour broadcasting at that time. You used to have to broadcast at 3 o'clock in the morning to Russia and places like that.
How did the signal get out to Russia? Because we were enemies with them then, I suppose. And, I mean, did you have a mast on the border?
They used to damn us.
Did they?
We used to relay VOA, Voice of America, which was transmitted from America.
Well, that's being rude, isn't it, really?
And we picked it up.
Yeah.
And then rebroadcast it from Skelton.
Whether they liked it or not.
Whether the Russians liked it or not. The Americans paid the Foreign Office to do that.
Did they?
Yeah, and we used to swing frequencies to try and beat the jamming.
What fun.
Beg pardon?
I said, what fun.
It was.
Sort of like being a very minor James Bond sort of thing.
Yeah. Mansfield were the people who were the BBC monitoring service at that time. In fact, you go back to 1956, the Hungarian Revolution.
Yeah.
They were the first people to notify the world that it was going on, because they were monitoring Russian and Hungarian transmissions.
What I don't get is this. The signals, the radio signals that the Hungarians or the Russians would have been broadcasting from Hungary, say, to take that example, in 56, I can't understand how they would have those signals would have the strength to be picked up in Tatsfield.
Yes, shortwave broadcasting.
Doesn't diminish?
No. You're talking about very powerful transmitters, and at that time, the government had a secret transmitter on the south coast, which was 500 megawatt transmitter, and occasionally they would take our signals and broadcast them to Russia or Poland or any of the Iron Curtain countries.
And this is only shortwave, is it?
Yes, shortwave.
Now, I've got a shortwave, I can pick up shortwave on one of my Clockwork radios.
Yeah.
So, what would I do if I wanted to listen to broadcasts from all around the world? Is that something that I could do, or?
Well, of course you can. Yes, you can pick up. I mean, it's common knowledge that under certain conditions, it's called the heaviside layer. It's an ion-charged particle layer above the Earth, and you can pick up television signals from Australia.
I can't get my head around it.
Yeah, well, what happens is the signals radiate, vertically as well as horizontally. And what happens is that the horizontal signals hit this reflective. It's like a mirror. Right. It's a radio frequency mirror, this heaviside layer. And they bounce off that and come down to other countries across the other side of the world.
So is this monitoring that went on at Tatsfield, was it dependent on these climatic conditions?
Not to a greater extent, because most of the countries that were broadcasting in an attempt for other people to hear them would be on shortwave, and you could receive those shortwave transmissions quite easily.
And when BBC Overseas was trying to get the message out to sort of like Free Russians, if you like, Voice of America, and presumably they got stuck with some of our programmes as well, did they?
Oh yes, they got our program. I used to transmit. I worked for the Russian service for about 6 months.
What sort of a show did you put on then for the Muscovites?
Well, it was news and entertainment and stuff like that.
What sort of entertainment?
But mainly it was news.
In Russian?
Oh yes.
So how did you...
the call sign for the service was Говорит London, мы передавали известия из Лондона. Программа «Русская музыка» с радио Путешествия.
Fantastic. When was the last time you said that for meaning? You don't forget it, though.
Time ago.
But you never forget it. So you used to announce that?
No, I was the recording engineer.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. So what about the entertainment programmes? Presumably, the BBC wanted Russians to listen to the transmission so that we could get our version of the news across.
Yes.
And so the entertainment programmes would have been one lure for that. But what were they? Variety programmes? Comedy? What?
No. It was basically they would have talk programmes on chess and stuff like that,
Chess?
We didn't have song and dance routines.
No, they didn't have to listen to any DJing or anything.
Oh, no. It was a 1 hour broadcast from GMT. It was between 2100 hours and...
Was there any way of finding out how many Russians listened?
Oh, a hell of a lot of Russians used to listen to
Did you get letters and things?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes, oh yes.
Well, they weren't putting themselves at any risk, because remember, people who didn't live through it don't realise quite how fierce the Cold War was at times.
Well, the letters and the news articles that we got in response to our broadcast were smuggled out. I mean, they didn't go down to the local post office and post them. Otherwise, they'd find them in a gulag somewhere.
But you had listeners who were prepared to risk the KGB in order to get a message to you that they were enjoying the programmes or whatever.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So they relied upon us to tell them what actually was happening.
Hey, listen, you better write a book, I think.
Yeah. Be interesting.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy today, but it's been good of you to give us 5 minutes, mate.
That's all right, Tommy.
Talk to you again.
It was a great pleasure.
It was, wasn't it? Wasn't that interesting? Damn. 08459. I'm going to have to start taking notes. I'm learning too much today. How you doing? Paul has emailed, what kind of battery did Tony say you can get a stick of carbon out for lighting fires? I don't know if this is safe and I don't know if this is legal, but since it's already been broadcast, this is what a listener said, Tony, who's a bit of a survivalist. He said a U2 battery, but I don't know what they are. I thought it was a band. But anywho, 08459 570057 to Joan, who calls from Milford. Hello, Joan.
Hello. I don't know if I can add to anything. I tuned in about an hour ago and just to hear you saying you never knew where Tatsfield was, or heard of it. And I wasn't going to ring in, and then I thought, I will, because I know it well.
Excellent.
I had an aunt and uncle live down there. Uncle was working with the BBC at the monitoring system. Tatsfield, it's in Surrey, but when we wrote to them, we always had to... It's very near the border with Kent, so it's better to address the mail to Tatsfield, Western Kent, to get there quicker.
You used to get that, didn't you, when counties mattered? Curiously enough, because they don't matter so much nowadays, I find. For example, you can be born in Sussex and play cricket for Surrey, so... But I remember I was lived in a place that was technically Surrey, but if you put Middlesex on the on the envelope, it was more likely to get there. It's weird, isn't it?
It is. I don't know what happened to Middlesex. Well, we've got friends living in Rutland, but it's best if you address it to Stamford, Lincolnshire, to get there.
But you have to know that, don't you? Because nobody's going to tell you.
Yes. I'm getting on a bit, so I know a lot of the things from the old days.
Well, Middlesex has more or less disappeared, if there ever was a Middlesex, really.
No, but on some things you still write Middlesex.
Well, you do, but with the postcode you say... Well, yeah, I mean, it's TW, isn't it? I think
not
the Middlesex
really a county,
postcode. No, it was never a county.
No, but you had a very well-informed gentleman talking just now about the monitoring system.
Well, you know your stuff as well. Don't sell yourself short here.
Oh, well, I just... I also know about the rams had eyes underneath them, I was going to say.
Well, this came up... This came up from nowhere. It's one of the reasons that you can find yourself being entertained by the programme you're supposed to be presenting. A caller called Andy, a lady who was a sheep farmer, amongst other things, said that they used to bring in a ram called Ramesses, and to cover the sheep, serve the sheep, whatever, the ewes. And I said to her, well, how do you know which ones have been looked after? And she told me about this ram's harness.
Yes, that's what I could confirm. That's
go on
true.
then.
Yes.
You've seen these things?
I haven't seen it, but I knew they were fixed up under these sheep, so that we've got farming friends, and I just took it, that for granted. That's what happened, and I knew it did.
Well, I've got a website where you can buy one of these harnesses. Here it says, listen to this. This is interesting. Guide for using the crayons. You have to stick a crayon in this harness.
I gather now.
Yeah, it says use soft crayons when nightly temperatures are below 8 degrees centigrade, and daily temperatures are below 18 degrees centigrade. Yeah. During warm or hot weather, either soft or hard crayons can be used.
Yes, I heard you saying
depending on the density of the mark.
I was also going to say about SCAT, the Southern Counties Agricultural Society. There was a branch in Godalming.
Okay.
And Midhurst, very well known for all country things.
All country needs. Listen, I'm really grateful that you called, and I hope you're glad that you did.
I was going to say, a U2 battery, I always remember a U2, is the size of the battery. There used to be number 8s, number 2s, and that. I don't know whether that's still it. Not a type of battery, but the size.
They're the big ones, aren't they?
Well, it's only the next size up from the number 8. What would you say now?
I always get... Why can't they give batteries names that are easy to remember? Because I always have to go into a newsagents and go, can I have some batteries? And they go, which ones? And I never know whether it's AAA, AA, what these silly codes are.
Most of them are AA, isn't it? Very small ones, AAA.
But it's confusing, isn't it? Well, it's for me.
It's more confusing for us. I'm 86, and things have changed somewhat.
Well, you don't sound it. Thank you for your call.
Thank you. I'm glad you found out about Tatsfield.
Yes, we're on our way.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Joe. Bye-bye. Yeah, the U2 batteries apparently are the ones that go in the big torches, the serious fellas. The ones that some people take and carry with them, not just because they're torches, but also you can use them for other things. So, protection, for example. Tony's in Haywards Heath.
Yes.
Welcome to Southern Counties Radio, Tony.
Yes, as an ex-northerner, I'd like to pass on some information about sheep. Because...
Okay.
Farming sheep is no joke.
No.
It's tough life.
I'll bet.
And the sheep used to be marked with, before they put these harnesses on them, the farmer used to just put on a dollop of creosote or tarry stuff, some of which would stick to the sheep from sand.
Yes.
They're not so stupid, are the sheep. Up in the Lake District, which is where I was brought up, there are certain breeds which are under threat. And one of the things which the sheep are doing is have a system which is called hefting. That's a new one for your vocabulary.
Hefting?
Hefting, yes. Generations of sheep learn how to recognise their own patch. And each year, without any need for fencing them in, they go to their patch. And the pastures there.
Sorry, the which bit?
They feed on the upper fells.
Okay.
And because of EEC subsidies in farming, it's not going to be viable for these hill farmers to keep going. So they have a problem of survival.
It's dying out, isn't it? Which is a shame. Tony, thank you very much indeed for your wisdom, dear boy.
Yes, talking of survival, I think we didn't call it survival, we called it going out for the day into the country. We used to dig for pig nuts. Have you ever heard of pig nuts?
Oh.
They're like little radishes.
Okay. Where would you look for them then?
You look for them in wooded areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you said a couple of tips. That's one.
Well, the other was learning to recognise pastures which would have mushrooms in them.
All right, listen, thank you very much indeed for your insight. That's nice of you. I don't want to milk you dry. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
08459 570057. We'll have somebody in off the street in just a second, and right after T-Rex, we'll get the travel and the weather.
Write it all out like a bird in the sky was. Write it all out like you were a bird. Fly it all out like an eagle in a sunbeam. Write it all out like you were a bird. Wear a tall hat like a druid in the old days. Wear a tall hat and a tattoo gown. Ride a white swan like the people of a Belgium. Wear your hair long, baby, can't go wrong. Catch a bright star and a place it on your forehead. Say a few spells and baby, there you go. Take a black cat and sit you on the shoulder, and in the morning you'll know all you like a druid in the old days. Wear a tall hat and a tattooed cloud. Ride a white swan like the people of a Belgium. Wear your hair long, baby, can't go wrong.
T-Rex and Ride a White Swan, which at the time I remember believing might have been a euphemism for some sort of barely legal activity, but we never found out. Let's get the travel.
BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
There's been an accident on the B2089 Udimore Road at Rye. It's because of an accident near to the junction with Cadborough Cliff. Lewis Road at Piddinghoe, another accident there. Lewis Road has been closed as well because of an accident near to the junction with Valley Road. Roadworks, of course, continue on the A27 between the A3M and the Eastern Road. Public transport at the moment reportedly running well. You can update us, don't forget, on 08459 570057. I'm Chris Lambert, BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
Thanks. Quick reminder of the weather. A cloudy, mostly dull day today. Very mild, 11 centigrade, 52 Fahrenheit. Tonight, mostly cloudy, little light rain, 6 centigrade, 43. Saturday, overcast with outbreaks of rain becoming prolonged, eventually clearing. Winds mainly light, 9 centigrade, 48 Fahrenheit. And the outlook for Sunday to Tuesday, cloudy again. Sunday, a little rain at times. Then brighter Monday with sunny spells and mostly dry. Very windy on Tuesday with outbreaks of rain, and some of those outbreaks could be heavy.
Tommy Boyd on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Brian from Crawley has emailed to say that the battery that we've been talking about is known as the D size, but you shouldn't try to take any battery apart, he says, and I couldn't agree more with that. Thanks for that. 08459 570057, but hold your horses. We've got a grand one from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and our producer this afternoon, Paul Sortel, has made his way out onto the streets, and hopefully we'll be meeting a completely surprise guest in about, 4 minutes 40 from now. Go. It's called Snow, this one.
Come to decide that the things that I tried were in my life just to get high on. When I sit alone, come get a little known, but I need more than myself this time. Step from the road to the sea to the sky, and I do believe that we rely on. When I lay it on get to play it on all my life to sacrifice. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh, I got your hey, oh, now listen what I say, oh. When will I know that I really can go to the well one small time to decide on when it's killing me? When will I really see all that I need to look inside? Come to believe that I better not leave before I get my chance to ride. When it's killing me, what do I really need? All that I need to look inside. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh, come back and hey, oh, look at what I say, oh. The more I see, the less I know, the more I like to let it go. Hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Deep beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow, privately divided by a world so undecided, and there's nowhere to go. In between the cover of another perfect wonder, and it's so white as snow, running through the field where all my tracks will be concealed, and there's nowhere to go. Oh! When to descend to a man for a friend, all the channels that have broken down. Now you bring it up, I'm gonna ring it up just to hear you sing it out. Step from the road to the sea to the sky, and if you believe what we rely on, when I lay it on, come get to play it on all my life to sacrifice. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh, I got your hey, oh, listen what I say, oh. The more I see, the less I know, the more I like to let it go. Hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Deep beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow, privately divided by a world so undecided, and there's nowhere to go. Deep beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow, running through the field where all my tracks will be concealed, and there's nowhere to go. I said, hey, oh yeah, oh yeah, tell my Lord now, hey, yeah, oh
Great tune. Music's got so good lately, hasn't it? Red Hot Chili Peppers and Snow Hey-O. And Paul wasn't outside, you know, for 30 seconds, and in comes a young man called Clive, yes?
That's right, yes.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
My name's Tom. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
You busy this afternoon?
Quite busy. Running around getting ready for a trip I'm taking abroad tomorrow.
Where are you off to?
I'm flying to Mexico.
That'll do. Been before?
Yes, but I've only been to the sort of tourist resorts. I'm going to Mexico City, so on business, so it should be quite an interesting insight into things, not being in an actual tourist location, but seeing the city close up.
So what's taking you to Mexico this time?
I'm a historian. I'm writing a book, and so I'm doing some research there at the archives of their the equivalent of their Foreign Office.
Okay. Can we talk about the book, or is it under wraps?
No, we can talk about the book if you want to.
Excellent. Okay, so what are you after?
I'm writing a book with an American colleague of mine called Bill Carrigan. It's under contract, and it's due to come out probably 2008. It's a book about violence in the United States, and specifically about violence practiced by white Americans against Mexican immigrants in the country. And it will span the course of the 19th and 20th centuries and go right up to the present day, and the problems that are currently happening with this group of vigilantes called the Minutemen, they were in the news just last week because they've set up a symbolic wall along the border between the United States and Mexico to demonstrate their opposition to it. So it's charting the whole course of events from the moment when parts of Mexico became the United States, so California and Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and the resultant clash of civilizations, if you like. So I'm looking in Mexico City at the papers of the diplomatic correspondence between the Mexican and American governments, because the Mexican government started to inevitably to protest the violation of civil rights that was happening to Mexican nationals on U.S. soil. So I'll be spending time with my colleague Bill, working through this material, seeing exactly what action was being taken, if any, how the American government was responding.
Do you know already the point that you want to make, or is this research going to help you discover what point it is you want to make? This
is really the sort of last piece in the jigsaw,
right.
And it's attempting to show really how diplomacy was the principal mechanism that Mexicans were able to use in combating violence against them in the United States. They tried all sorts of other techniques. Most obviously, what you pick up from watching Western films, violence. Most recently there was a film version of Zorro, for example, which drew a lot on the myth of Mexican banditry as a means of combating white aggression in California. And this is suggesting that those tactics of trying to use violence failed for a host of reasons, not least the fact that Mexicans were completely outnumbered and didn't possess the kind of resources that the United States was able to draw upon. And a much more effective means of combating things was placing unrelenting pressure on State Department officials in Washington and trying to force them. I mean, they couldn't do very much by way of taking preventive action, ultimately, because by the time they heard about lynching, it had already happened, and it had happened probably on the West Coast 3,000 miles away. But what they could do was, first of all, to provide financial compensation to the families of victims, and secondly, they could start placing increasing pressure on local and state authorities in places like California and Arizona and force them to do something to try and take preventive measures.
This is very interesting. This is extremely interesting. We look forward to this book, and I imagine you're enjoying in the way that somebody who loves what he does, and you obviously do. You like finding things out, don't you?
Absolutely.
You call yourself a historian, but you're discovering things. People think that historians kind of just read what other historians have already written, but you're discovering stuff yourself. Have you worked on books before?
I've written 2 other books and edited another one, so yeah, I'm sort of practiced in doing
What were they?
this. I wrote a book about the civil rights movement in America.
Okay.
And another book which is just about to come out, a history of race relations in America from the founding of the colonies through to the present day.
Okay, so there's a clear theme here.
Yeah.
Did that theme find you, or is that something you've always wanted to publicise and write about? Explain.
I came across it simply because I had a wonderful teacher when I was an undergraduate student. I went to Warwick University.
Okay.
I had an expat American called William Dusenbury who inspired me to get interested in this whole story about race in America. And I'm drawn to the complexities of American society. You know, there's that phrase that Leonard Cohen uses in one of his songs about the cradle of the best and of the worst, and it's exactly that tension between America's self-idealized image as the cradle of democracy and the darker undercurrents in its society that draws me to it intellectually and emotionally.
Yes, came across a book a while ago which I read and enjoyed, which was The Alamo from the Mexicans' point of view.
Right.
turned that film, dreadful film it is, with John Wayne, completely on its head. The Mexicans were morally opposed to the whatever authority the Texans had over that part of the land, partly because the Texans were in favour of slavery. This was according to this book. You might tell me differently, whereas the Mexicans felt that slavery was absolutely heinous.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the white settlers are moving into Texas. They're claiming it as part of the United States, and they're bringing slaves into the region with them. Slavery's been banned in Mexico some time before, so there is this clash. So it is interesting, this whole process of retelling history in a way from the other perspective. I mean, there's that old phrase that, history is told by the victor. And in a sense, one of the things I've been trying to do as a historian is to rewrite history from the perspective of the underdog, from the loser.
It's fascinating. Are you from around here? Are you a Sussex, Surrey boy, or have you found this part of the world?
I'm originally from Somerset, and I came here via a job in Reading, but I've been here for 7.5 years.
So what work did you do before you were a full-time... Are you a full-time historian now?
I am a full-time historian.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That must have been a dream that I can't imagine many people who take history at university are actually able to fulfil, but you have.
Yeah, I have. I mean, inevitably most people who do a history degree go off and do something completely different.
Or teach, yeah.
I mean, I do teach as well, but it's being able to combine my teaching with the practice of researching and writing history. And they're mutually complementary, of course, because you can bring all the excitement you have from new discovery into the classroom as well, and make the teaching just much more cutting edge, if you like. I mean, because new theories, new discoveries.
When you were a boy at school, was choosing history as the subject you wanted to pursue at university, was that easy, or were you torn?
I was torn. I thought of 3 possible options. One was journalism, one was the law, and one was history. My enthusiasm for the literary side of things was killed by a bad teacher. Law didn't inspire me quite in the same way. I mean, it seemed more a process of learning enormous amounts of material, but not necessarily discovering things that were new. And so it's that process of intellectual inquiry, I think, that led me down the path to history.
I had a tutor, a lecturer in the theory of education who said, I don't envy people going out into schools nowadays, and this was 20 years, 30 years ago. He said, because every mountain's been climbed and every ocean has been traversed and every jungle has kind of been discovered and explored, and there aren't too many things that are there for the adventurous youth to be adventurous doing. But it strikes me that your trip to Mexico and much of your work actually is a kind of an adventure, isn't it?
It's certainly an intellectual adventure, and in some respects it's also a physical one too.
Yeah,
I mean, going to other countries, different cultures, and finding out.
How long are you going to be in Mexico for?
Just for 10 days.
Okay, you say just for 10 days. I hope habla usted español.
Sí.
Okay. Yeah, you can get by in it, can you?
I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I know enough of the sort of rudimentary Spanish to get through.
And you should get plenty of cooperation, I would imagine, provided they are satisfied, as I'm sure they will be, that you what you're going to be writing is sympathetic to their country and to their people, which I presume it is. It seems as though it is.
Yes, they want to know what my credentials are, but I've published a few essays related to this research already, so if they wanted to, they could access that and see what kind of perspective I'm taking on these events.
Fantastic. Is it an academic family, Clive, yours?
Not at all. Neither of my parents went to university, so completely unacademic, in fact.
Were you home for Christmas? Did you see them over Christmas?
I was home just before Christmas. My mother turned 70.
Excellent.
And I went to celebrate that.
What's your mum's name?
My mum's name is Marjorie.
Marjorie? Okay, how many of you are there?
3 brothers, including myself.
Okay, which one are you? The third?
I'm the middle one.
You're the middle one. Okay, what's the oldest one called?
The oldest is Paul.
What's he up to?
Not a great deal. He's been suffering from poor health recently, so...
Sorry?
That's all right, but...
is there light at the end of that tunnel for him?
I very much hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And your youngest?
Neil, who is an artist.
Okay, what sort of an artist?
He started out as a painter, he's now moving into, how can I describe this, oral soundscapes. I mean, so installations in which you're not really looking at very much visually, but you're listening. So it's surround sound, lots of abstract sounds. It's very difficult to put it into words, but that's the career he's...
You don't have children yourself?
No, I don't.
Okay, you'll be, when you do, if you do, you'll find yourself doing something all parents do, which is to, at some point, have a conversation, which you then have a lot of times, about how different your children are, because you think to yourself, you fool yourself into thinking that because they all have exactly the same, well, kind of the same, well, they came about in the same way, you kind of expect your children to have an awful lot in common. But as parents, you notice the differences between your children. Other people tend not to notice those differences, but I have to say that the three of you do sound very, very different. How did you get on when you were growing up?
I'm not sure whether the fact that we all chose different career paths had to do with any conscious sibling rivalry. But I'm sure at a subconscious level there was a need for all of us to carve out a distinctive sphere, so that we wouldn't be in direct competition with one another. We got on probably in the same way that most siblings do.
The odd fight.
The odd fight.
But you die for your brother if anybody else came at them.
Absolutely.
Isn't that funny? It's so true, isn't it? You mentioned your mum, your dad?
My dad's name's Brian. He's a retired accountant.
Okay, a happily retired accountant?
Yeah, happily retired.
Good.
They're good role models for me in that sense. I got a long way to go before I reach retirement, but the grace with which they've moved into retirement is something I'd like to emulate.
And your interest in history, obviously, you enjoy reading.
Yes,
as well as writing. How do you write? At a word processor, or do you longhand, or how?
I write at a word processor. I just find it easier to focus my thoughts that way, and certainly to make the endless corrections that I have to go through.
And do you have a writing routine? You read about authors. Jeffrey Archer, if we can call him an author, his routine's quite well publicised. He goes to one of his homes in Barbados. Beyond most writers, I would imagine. And then he breakfasts on the same thing every day and begins writing at 10 and then ceases at 12, when he lunches on a salad, which will either be a tuna salad or a chicken salad, and then from 2 until 4 he corrects that which he has written from 10 until 12. And I guess probably that is how he does it. Do you have any kind of a routine like that?
If someone has a house in Barbados they want to rent to me, that would be lovely. No, I get up, I find my inspiration comes in the morning, so I start 9 o'clock, work through till mid-morning, take a short break, carry on through to lunchtime. We'll have a small lunch and try my best in the afternoon, but I find that my will to write vanishes in the afternoon, yeah.
But do you find it satisfying? Melvyn Bragg says that he cannot any longer bear to go a day without writing something.
I can certainly go more than a day.
Oh, right. It is work.
It is work.
Do you work from notes? Are you basically transcribing and turning into, digestible prose a whole bunch of notes that you've collected, which presumably you'll collect in Mexico?
That's exactly how I'm doing it. Okay. So it's working. It is working from copious amounts of notation.
Without being nosy, is it a living? Is it a good living? Can it be a good living writing historical books?
No. Unless you're writing, more sort of popular narrative-driven history books. So if you were a David Starkey or someone like that, then yes, you can make a very handsome living from it. Simon Schama would be another example. But more academic style history books tend not to sell very large quantities at all. And
is your publisher interested in the American market with this one would assume?
Yes. It's primarily going to be targeting the American market, which of course is much larger. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with it.
How interesting. So you'll have to do the round of the American chat shows with any luck.
With luck, that'd be fantastic to do that.
And all radio programs, because that's where these books often, people get to hear about books first, radio and television. Very interesting. Do you read, what sort of historical books do you enjoy reading? You've mentioned David Starkey. Do you find light reading in people like Trevelyan?
I read most of my reading, which is history-based, tends to be focused specifically on areas that I'm researching and teaching.
Okay. Where do you teach?
I teach at Sussex University.
Okay.
And then I'll read all sorts of other things just for
Do you have a
pleasure.
specialist subject or a specialist area that you lecture in or teach in?
Well, race relations in general. So, yeah, I teach a number of courses up there in Falmer.
Sorry, can you take a degree in race relations?
No, but you can take courses on race relations as part of a number of different degrees. So you could be taking a degree in American Studies or history or political science or sociology, which would have race components in them. So I teach students from across a broad sweep of different departments.
I'll bet that hitching queue's still there.
Oh yes, of course.
You only have to drive past it to realise that people come from all over.
Yeah.
Fascinating. When do you fly out tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning.
Okay, and you've not been to Mexico City?
No.
No, you're staying in a hotel when you're there?
Staying in a hotel and then staying in a hostel for the second part of the
That'll be
the
fun.
trip.
That'll be fun. I have one memory of the hotel that I stayed at in Mexico City. It's fantastic. I was due to go to Baja California, and somebody phoned me the night before I left the hotel with the telephone number that I had to ring when I got to Baja in order to be picked up, because that part of the world is very remote, as I know you know. But I got on the bus and I'm travelling across towards the Pacific Ocean, and I realised that I'd left the piece of paper in the hotel room. It was the tequila. And so I telephoned in broken Spanish. I telephoned the hotel and asked if a maid could go into the room that I hoped hadn't been made over and find this telephone number. And she couldn't, but she was good enough to go through the waste paper bin. And what I'd done, and I don't remember doing it, is I'd screwed up the piece of paper and thrown it in the waste paper bin. And this maid was fantastic. Without that, I would have been completely isolated and lost, and I probably had to have come home totally unfulfilled. It was a whaling thing I was doing. But I have happy memories of Mexico. It's a teeming place, isn't it? People don't realise it's about 4 times the size of London.
22 million people, Mexico City. In population terms, the largest city in the world.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is absolutely fantastic. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again, but for the time being, it's been a real delight and fascinating, and thank you for your half hour, which it turned into, considering, obviously, you've got a lot on your plate today. Safe journey.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
I hope to see you again. That's Clive.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mississippi, in the middle of a dry spell, Jimmy Rogers on the Victoria up high.
The sound of Sussex. BBC Southern Counties Radio.
O'clock, the top story this hour. A coach carrying British tourists has crashed in France. Good afternoon, I'm Fiona McCarthy. 4 British tourists have been injured, one seriously, in a coach crash in the French Alps. They were on a coach operated by a Brighton-based company, Skiplan, and were on their way to an airport when the accident happened near the town of Mizoën. Our correspondent in Paris, Caroline Wyatt, says driving conditions in the mountains would have been hazardous.
There were 42 people on the coach when it slid off an icy road, skidding into a rock. That was the stage at which the man was injured. We believe him to have been the tour guide on this particular coach, but at the moment, as far as we know, the other passengers were able to change coaches to go on and to carry on to the airport. There has been some heavy snow. Clearly, some of the roads will be quite icy. It is winter. These are typical winter conditions. And the roads around the mountainous regions, of course, can be very, very dangerous indeed because you've got hairpin bends. If you have ice on the roads at all, people will have to drive very, very carefully.
The driver of a National Express coach which crashed near Heathrow Airport, killing 2 people, has been released on police bail. He was arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. 25 injured passengers are still being treated in hospital, but police are still trying to identify a man who died in the crash. A woman's been taken to hospital suffering from burns and the effects of breathing in smoke after a fire in Dorking. The woman had to be rescued from a first-floor flat by firefighters after it was reported at 12:30 this afternoon. Meanwhile, a fire at a flat in Station Road in Bognor Regis has now been put out. There were no injuries. The chief executive of the low-cost airline Ryanair has said the government minister who criticised his company's environmental record is foolish and ill-informed. Michael O'Leary was responding to comments by the Environment Minister Ian Pearson. Laura Kussenberg reports for BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Ian Pearson does not have a reputation for speaking out. Of late, he's been trying to sign the airlines up to a deal on carbon trading. He accused British Airways of only just playing ball, but his strongest words were reserved for the budget airline Ryanair. Mr Pearson said the airline's reluctance to take climate change seriously was totally off the wall, and that Ryanair represented the irresponsible face of capitalism. The colourful chief executive of the airline, Michael O'Leary, said the minister hadn't a clue what he was talking about, and that being attacked by Mr Pearson was like being savaged by a dead sheep.
British Airways says it hopes to clear the backlog of bags stacked at Heathrow Airport by the end of the day. Earlier this week, there was a backlog of 1,000 lost bags, around half of which belonged to BA customers. The problem was caused by a fault with one of the luggage belts and was made worse by the flight cancellations due to fog just before Christmas. And Brighton and Hove is officially the healthiest city in the UK. A new survey shows the locals are hooked on keeping fit and cycle to work more than anywhere else in the country. The fitness coach Diana Moran, known to millions as the Green Goddess, told BBC Southern Counties Radio that residents should be very proud.
You really are to be congratulated because the people who live in Brighton are 3 times more likely to cycle or walk to work than the average of the other 15 cities. And there are also 2.5 times as many cycle shops in Brighton, rather more than in London. You also keep fit in your area through activities such as yoga.
And turning to sport, Brighton's defensive troubles have been eased by the news that Joel Lynch should be fit for tomorrow's FA Cup trip to West Ham. Fellow centre-half Adam Hinchelwood is injured and winger Dean Cox is suspended. Another Albion defender, George Santos, has joined Oxford United on loan until the end of the season. Woking hope to complete a trio of signings before tomorrow's league trip to Dagenham. Portsmouth defender Jason Pearce has signed on a month's loan. Meanwhile, Cambridge striker Liam Marham and left-sided Grays player Adam Green are expected to join today. And there's a boost for Aldershot ahead of their FA Cup third-round trip to Blackpool. The home side's main striker, Keegan Parker, is out of the match. You're up to date with BBC Southern Counties Radio. It's 4 minutes past 3.
BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
Gatton Bottom at Merstham has been closed in both directions because of a serious accident between the A23 London Road North and Markage Lane. The road is a cut-through pretty much underneath the M25 between the A23 and the A217. Delays are already occurring on the A23 and Gatton Bottom will remain closed for some time yet to come. Udimore Road at Rye, the B2089, is closed because of an accident near to Cadborough Cliff, I should say. Basin Road at Chichester has been closed just near to Chichester Station because of the level crossing that's failed at Kingston Road. Lewis Road at Piddinghoe still closed because of an accident near to Valley Road. And the A25 West Street, westbound between North Street and Junction Road in Dorking, looking quite busy at Pump Corner. You can update us on 08459 570057. I'm Chris Lambert, BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
The rest of the afternoon will remain cloudy with spits and spots of rain, so becoming increasingly dreary. Visibility will deteriorate and there could be hill fog developing on higher grounds. But it's going to remain mild with highs of 12 Celsius with fresh southwesterly winds drawing in mild air. A big change will take place tonight due to low pressure, so conditions will become much more unsettled for the next few days. The cloud will move away to the east and skies will initially be clear. Because of this, temperatures will drop sharply, so a much colder night with lighter winds, patchy fog and frost. Overnight lows will be 4 Celsius, that's 39 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow will be overcast with prolonged outbreaks of rain and temperatures will struggle as the cloud and rain spill up from the southwest. So it's going to feel chilly with highs of 9 Celsius, that's 48 Fahrenheit. Sunday will again be wet with stronger southwesterly winds and Monday is looking brighter. But then we've got some stormy weather with the risk of severe gales and more heavy rain by Tuesday. BBC Southern Counties Radio Weather. I'm Georgie Palmer.
Tommy Boyd on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
It's Friday, it's 3 o'clock, and that means it's time for the Wonderful Hour. And I'll tell you what, Paul, that was a wonderful in-off-the-street person you found.
That's all random.
Was that the first person you asked? It must
Second.
Second person you asked.
The first one I had to get to an appointment.
Yeah.
And then he was the second.
Okay. And had you got any idea, you know, that we're going to get a guy like that from what he looked like?
No, absolutely no.
Tremendous intelligence, intellect, and love of history. It was, and
well, you know what I also thought about was the passion for people. You know, human rights.
Yeah, that was as he went out. I'd started a record. I wished I hadn't, in a sense, because as he went out, I just shouted to him, "And you keep up the good work, because you obviously want the world to be a better place, and we need more people like that, don't we?" Yeah. It's the Wonderful Hour. I'll tell you something wonderful that happened to me this morning. I was walking to the station, it's about 1.5 miles. There was some blue sky, so I wasn't in any danger. But the bus came along, and I couldn't resist it, so I hopped on. I went upstairs, and I got a front seat. It's the kid in you, isn't it? Travelling on the top of a double-decker bus going along past the barracks. So now I'm going through the high street, and I'm 20 minutes early for my train, which means I can travel a bit more slowly, and I can take stock. And a market was setting up in the high street, a proper market, you know, with canopied stalls.
French market, was it?
It was an English market, but you had proper cabbages from a farm shop, and there was an olive stall. You always get that, don't you? But the thing that I had a moment at was the fish stall. Because nowadays we're so used to getting our fish just in the supermarket, aren't we? And yet here they were with these big polystyrene crates of fresh crab and sea trout, I think they were, by the looks of them. And the fishermen were having such a jolly good time, wagging away and chatting and laughing and smoking and drinking their Starbucks coffee. And the light on the pavement, because it had been raining, but the sunlight was coming through and the pavement was glistening, you know. And it was just one of those moments. I haven't got a word for it. It was just a damn good moment, partly because I was able to travel at the right pace to
Did you buy some of the fish?
I wanted to, but what am I going to do? Come in here with a crab?
Yeah,
it's going to stink the place out, isn't it? You don't care.
Beautiful.
You like your crab. What else? I've got one other wonderful, and that's my dog, because she's got a new habit which makes me feel so important. She sleeps in the kitchen, but she's managed to find different ways of getting out of the kitchen now after we've gone to bed, and she knows she shouldn't, so she does it after we've gone to bed. She sneaks up the stairs and she sleeps with her back right up against our bedroom door, which is because she wants to be as close as possible. And I have to remember, of course, if I go to the loo in the middle of the night, to step over her, otherwise
well, you trip over, wouldn't you?
Exactly. But there she is in the morning, and it does my heart good. So 2 wonderfuls.
What's your dog's name?
Nugget. named by somebody outside the family, which is just as well, because otherwise one of the four of us would have had an extra kind of crack of ownership if it had been one of the names that various people suggested. I had a name for her, but it's probably just as well she didn't.
Long-haired, isn't she? Is it a retriever?
She is. Yeah, she's a long-haired golden retriever. Yeah, and she's beautiful. She's got an underbite, which meant that she'd never have been shown as a dog. And I worried that if we hadn't bought, she was the last one to go. She was bred. That they might not have found a home for her, because most people buy properly bred dogs. A lot of people buy properly bred dogs to show them. And she's got this underbite, which makes... You know the bulldog in Tom and Jerry with those teeth at the bottom there? Yes, that's the look. You did it well. You did it very well. So that's what's wonderful in the world of Boyd. What about in the world of Sawtell?
Well, I'm just thinking, obviously it's just been Christmas recently, and I would like to say how wonderful my wife is, in terms of her being very thoughtful in things that she organises.
Okay.
And I had the most wonderful Christmas present this year. I hadn't got a clue what it was, but I like animals, and I've always wanted to, you know that programme, there's a programme on, in fact you're probably travelling at the time, at 9 o'clock in the morning, but they had this series on BBC One when I get up in the morning, and it was all about Longleat Safari Park. And she had managed, I don't know how, I think she managed to do a bit of a blag, but anyway, she managed to arrange a VIP, and we're going next weekend to Longleat Safari for a VIP tour behind the scenes, because it's closed at the moment, it's out of season, and you get a private escort round the grounds, and presumably you can feed the lion cubs and play with the monkeys and things like that. And we're staying in a posh pub on the grounds as well, and you obviously get to look round the stately home as well. And it's one of the things I've always wanted to do, and she arranged it.
And it's the thought that counts, but in this case it's the present as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
So it's hats off to Alison Ferns. Nice one, Paul. 08459 570057. The wonderful hour, just celebrating whatever is wonderful in your life. And if you get a moment to give us a call or text or email and share it with us, such as Sue in Camberley. Hello, Sue.
Hello, Tommy. Happy New Year to you.
Same back at you.
Hello.
What's wonderful?
Well, it's the fact that my dog, well, we've got two dogs, but this is the younger one. We've only recently started letting him off his lead. And it's the fact that he's just realised, I think, that he's meant to stay with us. Yeah. And although he sort of runs around, and you see him, because in the beginning when we first let him off about a month ago, it was dreadful. We just see him disappearing over the horizon, you know.
You think they're never going to come back?
Oh, it was terrifying. You
have really mental images of the police round at your house and all sorts, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
I mean, there was
nerve-wracking.
one time when he really did disappear. But luckily, he's got he and our other dog belong to the Missing Pets Bureau, and somebody found him and rang them, and so we reunited. But we've had one or two more scary things, but not as bad as that one. Yeah. But today, because I was talking to a lady on the phone yesterday, and she said, "Look, just trust him, just trust him." So I thought, okay, I'll give it a whirl, and. Well, I was just so relieved. He although he did sort of, he'd make these detours, you think, oh no, here he goes. But he would go around in a big circle and come back.
You know, the thing is that I think most of us forget is that when you take your dog for a walk, I've got a golden lab.
Yeah.
Golden retriever, sorry.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are other golden retrievers up there.
Yeah.
And for a moment, I can't tell mine from the other ones. Now, you think how much more difficult that must be for them.
Yeah.
We took ours to Wittering Sands a couple of 3 days ago, and there were loads of people up there. And what Nugget had to do once she'd gone off, in coming back to us, she had to go up to virtually everybody to see if it was us.
Yeah.
Because quite simply, we wear different clothes every time we take her for a walk.
Yeah.
Some days it's a donkey jacket, some days it's the bomber jacket, some days it's the overcoat.
Yeah.
You know, and how can you expect her to know what we look like?
Good point. You know, I never thought of that. How
wear the same
stupid.
thing. Or my granddad always said, wear a hat. He said, because dogs notice hats. He knew, he was a country boy. You couldn't argue with him about animals.
No, the trouble with with Shami, he's a Tibetan Mastiff, and they're still, so my daughter tells me, and I'm sure it's true because there's not many of them at the moment in England, but they're still fairly close to the wild.
Yeah.
If you look them up on the internet. So, of course, that's an added thing, you know. He sees the wide open spaces. We've got a lovely big heath at the back of us. It goes for miles.
What did you go for a Tibetan Mastiff for?
Well,
What's the lure there?
For a long while I've wanted a second dog.
What's the other one?
She's an RSPCA dog, a cross, a German Shepherd cross with a Rottweiler, which sounds awful, but she isn't. She's lovely. And you know, I would like a second dog. And then my daughter bred Tibetan Mastiffs, and you know, there's a litter of 6 puppies, and you can imagine. I
just found them on the internet.
Have you?
They look like grizzly bears. They're huge.
Yes, I know. There've been times I thought, have I done the right thing? Because I'm not in the flush of youth, and he's very strong. And
I bet he is.
He is very, very strong, but absolutely
as big
adorable.
as they look in these pictures. They look like muscle-bound huskies.
Yeah, I suppose you could describe him a bit like that. But I hope others have got lovely nature, but he is so gentle and so sweet. He loves people, loves dogs. I mean, he's a joy. But up until today, this sort of nagging fear at the back of my mind has been. I mean, he could do it again. I know, and you know, if he sees dogs and people in the distance, he just wants to go and meet them and play.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling now that he's got the idea that he's meant to be with us when he's out. You know, not just take himself off, you know.
Oh, they bond. You have to bond them, don't you? Animals?
Yeah, that's right.
When I learned to ride a horse, the chap who taught me, Mark Richards, he said, right, you got to bond with your horse now.
Yeah.
You got to bring him a carrot, and you got to make a fuss of him, and he's got to get used to you and your scent and everything.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you sit up on the horse, and the horse can tell exactly not who you are, but what mood you're in. And I think dogs are the same. They can tell what you're thinking and what you're feeling.
Yes, it's been a longest struggle with him because they're very independent dogs, and in the beginning I found it hard to bond with him.
Yeah.
But it's happening now, I think.
Good. Well,
which is great.
Thank you for your time and thank you for your story. What's he called?
Shamu.
Shamu.
Yeah.
Which is a Tibetan word?
Well, no, I don't know. I couldn't find since naming him. I found lots of Tibetan names. I thought, why didn't I call him that?
But Shamu's beautiful.
He's Shamu, and he's curled up in the chair, absolutely tired out now because he's had a lovely walk.
All right. Thank you for your contribution to the Wonderful Hour.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bye.
In Camberley, and we were talking about dogs and her story about Shamu. It's just gone 3:15. It's the Wonderful Hour, BBC Southern Counties Radio, for a Friday afternoon. Wayne's in London. Hiya, Wayne.
Hello.
What's wonderful?
Well, I thought of you a minute ago, came out of Tesco's, and I got behind these two, I don't know if they're teenagers, they may have just been about 20, young love, and almost telepathy between them, Tommy. Yeah. Their hands linked.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that, what a wonderful feeling that is when you've got that going on with somebody, and you just touch their hands, and...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's something about linking of hands. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I get it when I don't know what it is, but when I see really old people doing it, I'm not sure it looks so beautiful. But
no,
that's just me. I don't know why.
Well, Jane and I have reached an age now where we don't walk along hand in hand anymore. We do the arm in arm thing.
Yeah.
But she sometimes says, "Put your arm in mine," and I go, "No, I won't. You put your arm in mine." I don't know why. It just feels more right to me that she's crooked her arm around mine. But Wayne, you're a very observant listener.
What was I going to say?
Go on.
Also with children, when they just they trust you so much, they just give you their hand. You know, I had a girlfriend who had like a young daughter. She was about 6 or 7, and that's also beautiful when you got that trust with the child, and just when somebody, even at a funeral, it's almost a wonderful thing. When a man comes up to you at a funeral, there's no words have to be exchanged, and they shake your hand because they almost say everything with your hands, can't you?
Yes, you're so right. You're so right. And when a baby takes your finger, is another one.
Yeah.
And it's funny, a mate of my eldest son, who I've known since he was about 10 or 11, is home for Christmas from university, and he was in the kitchen when I got home last night, and he just came towards me as a man, and he underlined the fact that he's now a man by offering his fat hand first and giving me a strong handshake and looking me in the eye and just going, "Happy New Year, Tom." And it was great because it was such a rite of passage that he'd offered his hand and given the strong handshake. You're good again,
Don't
Wayne.
don't you wish you were a girl sometimes? That because it's acceptable that girls sometimes you get young schoolgirls they walk along hand in hand. It's acceptable. You can't really do it as a man, can you, or a boy?
No, I have walked and held my father's hand the once, and I'm really glad I did it.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about as with a friend.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think I've done that yet.
No,
I've had a kiss on the lips from 2 male friends. A peck in the case of one, and a long kiss in the case of another. But
I sang a duet with a gay guy. He asked me if I'd sing a duet with him.
Yeah.
Didn't realise it was I think I walked into a gay pub and we got talking, and he said, "Would you like to sing a duet?" We sang "You Don't Bring Me Flowers," and that was beautiful. That was wonderful, Tommy. Yeah, it was.
Wayne, I think you should know that you are on the very short list for Listener of the Year, by the way.
Well, I tried to nominate myself, didn't I?
Well, you're not being paid, but you're earning your corn. I think you do a great job, and we've got your number, and we might be on to you about that. But
all right.
Thank you for your contribution to the Wonderful Hour. Absolutely beautiful. Wayne, calling from London there, saw a couple, young love, came out of a supermarket, their knuckles touched, and they immediately instantly, the both of them held hands. Beautiful. Welcome to the Wonderful Hour. Let me ask you listening, driving along, maybe you're at home, whatever. School run, it's possible. I guess that's starting up round about now, isn't it, this Friday, 3:20. What's wonderful? You don't, if you haven't got time, have to call. But give yourself 30 seconds to think about what you would say. If you were to tell me what's wonderful, it'll do you good. Go on. Whilst we enjoy Stereophonics. Handbags and glad rags. Yeah. You're thinking of David Brent, aren't you? I know I am.
Ever see a blind man cross the road, trying to make the other side? Ever see a young girl growing old, trying to make herself a bride? So what becomes of you, my love, when they're finally stripped you of the handbags and the glad rags that you pulled round and had to sweat to buy?
Denise has emailed. She says, your previous caller was wonderful. How refreshing to hear a man go all a bit gooey. I feel all warm inside now. Thank you. Thank you for that, Denise. Tommy.boyd@bbc.co.uk. To Dave, who's called the show. Hello, Dave. What's wonderful?
Hello, Tommy. I've got a daughter. She's just coming up 3 years old, and my wife and I have been trying 18 months, maybe nearly 2 years for another one. We was having no luck, and then last September, my wife fell pregnant, and unfortunately she had a miscarriage, which was a bit of a blow after all that time, and we sort of dusted ourselves down a bit, and the doctor said, well, and you're not going to want to hear this, but the best time to start trying is straight away. For, I don't know, medical reasons, I don't know, whatever. So we did, and she fell pregnant the very next month, would you believe? And we went for the scan on Tuesday. My wife's been quite ill for the last couple of months, sick and what have you. We went for the scan, and they put the thing on the tummy as they do, and they found the baby, and there it is, just laid there, and that's wonderful in itself. But Tommy, there's two in there.
Hey! Bingo!
Oh, man.
Bliss.
I just... I mean, the other one was hidden behind the other one.
Oh, was this the first anybody knew?
Yeah, yeah, no idea. And I just grabbed my wife's hand, and I was just, what? And you just can't get your head around it. You're like looking, and I couldn't stop giggling. I was just laughing, and the nurse, and there was two of them in there, and the other one saying, "Are you all right?" I said,
How miraculous! Is there a history of twins on either of your sides?
No, not at all.
God.
So when the milkman comes around, I'm going to have him.
Well, that's wonderful.
Weird.
I mean, you know, if there is a God, then God said, "Well, I put them through the miscarriage. I owe." And this is fantastic news.
He's divvied up, hasn't he? Yeah. That's what it feels like to me, and I'm not a great believer, but sometimes you face, you know, that side of it gets tested, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, well...
Oh, God.
It's just bizarre, and I've got little pictures of them, and I can't stop looking at them.
And when you got home, you had to ring so many people, didn't you?
Tommy,
your phone bill's gone through the roof.
Yeah, because my wife said to me, it's only 3 months, so whatever you do, Dave, don't go mad and ringing people. I've told everybody.
Of course you have.
And the reason I had to tell everybody, because I've got to get it right in my head that it's real. Because it still doesn't feel real. I keep looking at these little pictures of these two tiny, and they look like little babies, but I mean, they can only be, I don't know, a couple of inches long. I don't know what they are, but they look, you know.
How pregnant are you now?
3 months.
14 weeks, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, tiny still, aren't you? Say a couple of inches, less than that, I think you'll find.
Yeah, but they've got arms, little arms.
People, and hands, and little people.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. And then you start thinking, oh, heck.
Well, you made me go all gooey now, and I'm quite envious, to tell you the truth. But
yeah, everybody said that. My mum said that, and her mum said that. Oh, I've always wanted twins, but everybody says that. But
fabulous.
But I mean, people have said to me, "How are you going to cope?" But you just do, don't you?
You will.
You've just got to cope.
The pair of you will be fantastic. Well, the three of you will be fantastic.
I'm just giddy, permanently giddy at the moment.
Marvellous.
I don't need any alcohol tonight. That is for sure.
No,
there'll be no alcohol taken tonight. I don't need it. I'm just giddy.
You're a good man. It's really great of you to share that with us. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And love to your other half as well.
Yeah.
Love to. What is it? The five of you now, is it?
Oh, God. Five.
What am I going to do? You're going to have to get a part-time job on top.
They've just bought me a new company car. What am I going to do? I need a people carrier.
You will. You're going to need a bigger yacht. All right.
Going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, you're going to need a bigger boat, yeah. Cheers, Dave.
Cheers, Tommy.
Oh, isn't he happy? Couldn't you just smell it off him? Isn't that fantastic? What a great story. It's the wonderful hour. 08459 570057. Robert's on the line. Hello, Robert. What's wonderful?
Hello, Tommy. I'm a recovering stammerer, and I just want to say how great it is to be able to say whatever I want to anyone, to have that freedom and not to have a mental barrier when it comes to speaking.
Well done. How did you do it?
Well, I did this course called Maguire course, which is the same one that Gareth Gates did. Do you know Gareth Gates?
I know of, yeah.
Yeah. He was my coach during the 4 days in Bournemouth where I did the course. I have to exaggerate my breathing for a while, so if I sound out of breath, that's why.
Sounds fine, mate. Sounds fine.
I have to breathe from the chest. Use I've forgotten the name, the upper part of the diaphragm to breathe from. Costal diaphragm.
You sound fantastic.
Thank you. There's one other wonderful thing. Can I tell you? Okay. Part of my therapy is to go out into the streets of Brighton and speak to strangers, ask them directions, or just tell them I'm a stammerer and could I tell them my name, because I used to have a lot of difficulty saying my name. And I've noticed that because I have to use more eye contact, and I've noticed that my opinion on people has changed a lot, because I wasn't sure if people out there were nice or not nice. I didn't know, and since I've been speaking to them, I realised that nearly everyone is really nice and really warm. Everyone. And it's really changed my opinion on the
fabulous Robert,
human race.
Wonderful. This is a wonderful call. It's great listening to you. I know how nerve-wracking it can be waiting to go on a phone-in programme. So you're home and hose, mate, and you sound great. And I must invite you. I want you to call the programme with your thoughts on anything as soon as it occurs to you. You come straight through. It's been great talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tommy. It's been great talking to you.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you again.
Bye for now.
08459 570057. It's 3:33. Let's get the travel.
BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
Number of problems actually at the moment. The A267's been closed in both directions at Hellingly because of an accident near to the junction with North Street. That's where the A267 meets the B2104, not far from Eastbourne. Udimore Road at Rye has now reopened. That accident's cleared. Basin Road at Chichester still closed because of the level crossing failure. Colwell Road at Haywards Heath now closed because of an accident near to the junctions with Fox Hill and Rocky Lane. Gatton Bottom at Merstham still closed because of that serious accident between the A23 London Road North and Markage Lane. Lewis Road at Piddinghoe is now reopened. The accident's cleared. Heavy traffic at Pump Corner in Dorking on the A25, and the Transmarch 530 crossing from Newhaven to Dieppe has been rescheduled to 4 o'clock because of tidal restrictions. You can update us on 08459 570057. I'm Chris Lambert, BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
Weather today, cloudy, mostly dull day, as you realise, very mild. It's been out there, 11 centigrade, which is 52. Tonight, staying mostly cloudy, a little light rain, 6 centigrade, which is 43 Fahrenheit. Saturday, overcast, outbreaks of rain becoming prolonged, eventually clearing in the evening, 9 centigrade, 48. Quite chilly then on Saturday. And then in and out Sunday through until Tuesday. Cloudy on Sunday, little rain at times. Brighter on Monday with sunny spells, mostly dry. But then very windy come Tuesday with outbreaks of rain, some of which could be very heavy.
Tommy Boyd on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
What's wonderful? 08459 570057. You can text 07786 2070 70. Email tommy.boyd@bbc.co.uk.
Cash's Classic Countdown. The music of your life.
Tom Jones and I were represented by the same publicist in those days, and Tom had a big hit with It's Not Unusual, and he said, I want you both to do this publicity shot. It's going to be in the Daily Mirror. Everything everything. So off we go. And Jonathan, being Jonathan, had got a jacket of mine and had put white dollar and pound signs all over it. And we got to the press thing and everything else, and these journalists were there and photographers were there, and Tom and I were shaking hands and doing the business. And this reporter came up and said, "Which one of you guys is Tom Jones?" We both looked at each other and just went, "No," and we both went, "He is."
Forgive me, Delilah, I just couldn't take anymore.
Cash's Classic Countdown. It's all about the music you remember. Every Saturday from 6.
On BBC Southern Counties Radio.
You're strutting into town like you're slinging a gun. Just a small town dude with a big city attitude. Honey, are you looking for some trouble tonight? Well, alright. You think you're so bad, drive the women for a while. Shoot them all down with the flash on your pearly smile. Honey, but you're mad tonight. Well, that's right. You think you'll knock me on my feet till I'm flat on the floor, till my heart is crying in here and I'm begging for more. So come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, show me what that love you got is for. If you can give it, I can take it. 'Cause if this heart is gonna break, it's gonna take a lot to break it. 'Cause I know tonight somebody's gonna win the fight. So if you're so tough, come on and prove it. Your heart is down for the count and you know you're gonna lose it. Tonight you're gonna go down in flames, just like Jesse James. You're an outlaw lover and I'm after your hide. Where you ain't so strong, won't be long till your hands are tied. Tonight I'm gonna take you in, dead or alive. That's right. Break the laws of love in the name of desire. Take 10 steps back, 'cause I'm ready, baby, aim and fire. Baby, there's nowhere you're gonna run tonight. Ooh, that's right. Well, you had your way with love, but it's the end of the day. Now a team of wild horses couldn't break your heart away. So come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, you know there ain't nothing left to say. Give it, I can take it. 'Cause if this heart is gonna break, it's gonna take a lot to break it. I know tonight somebody's gonna win the fight. So if you're so tough, come on and prove it. Your heart is down for the count and you know you're gonna lose it. Tonight you're gonna go down in flames, just like Jesse James. You knock me off my feet till I'm flat on the floor, till my heart is crying in here and I'm begging for more. So come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, come on. If you can give it, I can take it. 'Cause if this heart is gonna break, it's gonna take a lot to break it. I know tonight somebody's gonna win the fight. So if it's so tough, come on and prove it. Your heart is down for the count and you know you're gonna lose it. Tonight you're gonna go down in flames, just like Jesse James. Tonight you're gonna go down in flames, just like Jesse James. Tonight you're gonna go down in flames, just like Jesse James. I'm gonna shoot you down, Jesse James.
Cher, I know the knife's involved, but she does look good. What is she, 73? Just like Jesse James. Fantastic. 20 to 4, the wonderful hour on BBC Southern Counties Radio. I'm Tommy Boyd. Paul Sawtell's been dealing with folk who've called in with things that they want to celebrate, and hope that you'll enjoy sharing in the celebration, like Jean in Limpsfield. Hello, Jean.
First of all, Happy New Year to you.
And the same to you. Thank you.
Right. What's wonderful? It's about dogs.
Yeah.
You must probably heard a lot about dogs recently.
Fantastic.
But who says dogs aren't sensitive?
Oh, nobody. Not when I'm around.
Not when I'm around either.
Go on, then, you tell us.
It's about a dog's sense of smell, this first one. Just over 2 years ago, I went to judge at a dog show in Finland. I was away for a few days, came back, and the dog said, "Hello, Mum," and walked away. I said, well, that's funny.
Yeah.
He doesn't really recognise the smell. So I changed into what I call my old doggy clothes.
Yeah.
And believe you me, they are old, and they are doggy.
Oh, yeah.
And he went potty.
Got it, yeah.
Hello, Mum, you're back. Another thing he did was more recently, I was due to go into hospital to have a knee replacement because I couldn't walk. My husband's had been doing it.
Yeah.
But this particular morning, I was due to go into hospital. It was almost as though we'd said to him, well, Mum's going to hospital. He made such an incredible fuss of me, it was amazing. You know, who says dogs aren't sensitive?
Yeah. Oh, they know stuff. They're cute.
They are very cute. Can I go into a bit further back in history?
Sure.
This is a half-brother and sister that we had, dare I say, in 1976.
It was a good year.
It was a good year.
Lovely summer in 76.
It was very, very hot, believe you me.
Didn't rain for 3 months. Do you remember?
Yeah, I know. And when the older dog we had at the time felt rain, he wondered what the hell was happening.
Yes, it was like that.
It was rather like that. Anyway, the dog was chewing a bone. His younger half-sister wanted the bone. Now, there wouldn't be an argument, obviously. So she went to the back door and barked. Came back. He hadn't taken any notice. So she went to the back door again and barked several times. Curiosity got the better of him. He went to the back door, she got the bone. Who says they don't? And shall I tell you what breed I've got?
Go on.
Staffordshire Bull Terriers.
There. So you doesn't believe everything you hear?
No, you don't.
No. Thank you, Jean, for that.
Thank you. Any dog is great.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, almost. Thank you, Jean. Very much indeed. That's Jean in Limpsfield. It's nearly 4:45. The wonderful hour says good afternoon to Adam in Crowborough. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Tommy. How are you doing?
I'm good. What's wonderful, mate?
Well, firstly, this show, but that kind of goes without saying.
You're very kind.
No, it's something you played, actually. It just inspired me to call. 2 things in a row, and putting them together just made me think of what I found wonderful in the last few days. You had the caller talking about the telepathy between the teenagers, or the people who were sort of so in love, and they held hands.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, you played the Stereophonics, which is obviously the theme from The Office.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to compliment The Office, particularly the Christmas special, which I actually had as a DVD for Christmas, and I watched it last night. I've been thinking about it all day. Literally almost did have tears in my eyes watching with Tim and Dawn.
When she appears over Martin Freeman's shoulder.
That's right, and you see
at
him
the
looking
reception
out the corridor.
desk. And Tim is so bored and fed up with those idiots.
Yeah,
what's his
especially
name?
the replacement who has to come in. I mean, I thought the whole series was great, but I thought particularly the Christmas one, particularly the second bit.
I cry my eyes out.
Me
cry
too.
my eyes out when. Because it's just so well done, isn't it? For some reason, the camera makes you watch the door because you're hoping that she's going to come back to him.
Yes, and he's hoping it, and she doesn't, and then David himself.
Gorgeous. And such a lovely present, wasn't it? The box of paints, because it symbolised everything. It was such a clever present because it said, don't give up your dream, always hope. Because he wasn't giving up his dream, which was her.
Of course. Yes, of course. Yeah, I never really thought of that. And I mean, the fact that we could sort of sit and talk about it, and there's so much to it. And I mean, I hesitate to just say it's a great TV program. I think it's a great drama. I think it will be a timeless drama. It's a romantic drama.
I hope so. I really hope that, unlike an awful lot of things that we really cherish, in 10 or 20 years' time, it looks tame and faded. I really hope it doesn't, because you know, it's not surprising that Ricky Gervais has become one of the world's great figures. You know, he goes to America and he's totally fated, isn't he?
Amazingly so well.
He did that Simpsons show all by himself, and he's, you know, any American comedian, any, no matter how famous, if they hear that Ricky Gervais is available for a chat, they want to go and talk to him.
That's right. Yes, he's in a new Christopher Guest film, of course, the Spinal Tap guy. That would be worth watching. But I mean, and not just him, of course, the whole cast. It's one of those moments where everything comes together. You know, the story, the music as well. The music at the Christmas disco I thought was brilliant, and the way they used Take That, Back for Good, obviously to sort of symbolise Tim and Dawn. The production was great. I agree, I mean, maybe it might date in time. I hope not, but I think the genuineness of it will mean it doesn't date, because I think in most comedy and drama it's the sort of the romances and things of what stand the test of time. It's not just sort of style, there's actual real content to it.
What's funny about it is that you can unlike, I mean, I can watch Fawlty Towers over and over, and it still makes me smile.
Yes.
But if I watch The Office again, because of the realism of it, even if I know what's coming, like when What's-His-Face gets a phone call, goes, Oggy, Oggy, Oggy.
Oh.
Oggy, Oggy, Oggy.
Yeah.
Oggy, Oggy. And it really annoys Tim Freeman. And he puts the phone down and Tim goes, do you ever talk to that Oggy? And he goes, that was him. Really? And I know what's coming. It's so beautifully, brilliantly performed that it has me roaring with laughter and crying. I can't think of many sitcoms that make me cry.
I think it's the emotion and the way they I mean, you know, you have to sort of wonder about the characters who played Tim and Dawn. I mean, either they're incredibly great actors or they really did have a sort of a chemistry there, because I don't think you can sort of just fake it, or I think you have to be an incredibly good actor.
I can see how a girl like that would fall for someone like Lee.
Yes,
and I can also tell
definitely.
how, as she got a bit older, because Lee's your lad, isn't he?
He is, yeah. I mean, and I think we've all been in Tim's boat. I mean, I'm sure you know, and you'd like to girl at work. And I mean,
but she's going out with the football captain.
That's right.
That's
exactly.
what Lee was. Yeah. But then, you know, they usually come to their senses. These things called women. So let's hope for us.
Well, I hope so.
Hope for us all. Lovely talking to you.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your contribution to the Wonderful Hour. Nice man. That's Adam in Crowborough. With his contribution to the Wonderful Hour. What's wonderful? 08459 570057. Can be something that makes you laugh, can be something that makes you feel warm. In his case, a TV programme. We've had dogs, we've had that lovely man who's recovered from his stammer as a result of doing, was it the Maguire programme? Fantastic. Wayne, who spotted a couple coming out of a supermarket and their hands just sort of brushed and they immediately clasped in that thing that doesn't need to be said between people when they're at that stage of life's love. Let's go to Marjorie, who's called the Wonderful Hour. Hello, Marjorie.
Hello.
What's wonderful?
Well, I was just thinking this horrible, miserable, dull day, and then that man comes on who is recovering from his stammer, and absolutely thrilled for him, because I think it was so wonderful to hear him come over and speak on the radio. For people like myself who can talk clearly, I think, well, God bless him, I think it was wonderful.
He'll be listening and he'll be pleased that you said thanks and well done, Marjorie.
Oh, I think that was simply lovely. It was just as if the sun had come out.
Well said, I like it.
Righto.
Talk to you again.
Righto.
Where are you calling from, by the way, just so that I've got you on the map?
East Hoathly.
Beautiful. Cheers. That's Marjorie. Yeah, that was Robert, wasn't it? Just before 3:30. Tony Johnson in Shoreham has emailed, and I'll read his email out as soon as it comes down. Yep. No, having one of those days. Not to worry. Where are we? Tony from Shoreham, he says, hi Tommy, I'll tell you what's wonderful. Eating bangers and beans whilst fishing on a cold winter's day on the West Arm in Shoreham. Cheers. And have a nose at the attached pic. He sent me a picture. It's frustrating for you listening, but I will have a quick look at it, see if I can describe what it... Oh, yeah. Well, he takes his... Yeah, there's a picture, and all it is a concrete wall and a concrete floor, and you can't see anything else but concrete, except right in the middle of it, there's one of those... Is it a Primus stove? I think it is. And on it is a frying pan, and in the frying pan, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Looks like 6 sausages. Have you ever eaten 6 sausages in one go? Looks like Tony can. And there are 2 tins of beans, and he's got them cooking. Difficult to really see how he's managing to do it. I think he's cooking them in the tin. Fantastic. Eating out. Eating fast food out. You don't want it to be Nouvelle, do you? And you don't even want it to be good for you. If you're out, especially if you're fishing in this, yeah, you want your sausages and beans. Thank you, Tony. You're right. It's wonderful. It's 10 to 4.
So high, I did not recognize the fire burning in her eyes, the chaos that controlled my mind. Whispered goodbye, she got on a plane, never to return again, but always in my heart. Oh, this love has taken its toll on me. She said goodbye too many times before. I tried my best to feed her appetite, keep her coming every night, so hard to keep her satisfied. Oh, kept playing love like it was just a game, pretending to feel the same, turn around and leave again. But oh, this love has taken its toll on me. She said goodbye too many times before. Her heart is breaking in front of me, and I have no choice, 'cause I won't say goodbye anymore. Oh, oh, whoa, whoa. I'll fix these broken things, repair your broken wings, and make sure everything's alright. It's alright. My pressure on your hips, sticking my fingertips to every inch of you, 'cause I know that's what you want me to do. This love has taken its toll on me. She said goodbye too many times before. Her heart is breaking in front of me, and I have no choice, 'cause I won't say goodbye anymore. This love has taken its toll on me. She said goodbye too many times before, and my heart is breaking in front of me. She said goodbye too many times before. This love has taken its toll, yeah. She said goodbye too many times before. Her heart is breaking in front of me.
Maroon 5 and This Love. We're getting reports that the Chichester is at a standstill, which is where I'm heading for a birthday party. Happy birthday, Zoe. I'll be catching up with you in about an hour and a half, or indeed I won't if we're getting the news so that it's absolutely clear, just sorted out. It's a level, to do with a level crossing sticking down or sticking up. If I was being selfish, I would hope that it's sticking down because I'm going through on a train. But apparently it's chaos. Alison Ferns, who's hanging around the newsroom like a groupie, tells me that what's chaos in Chichester is everyday sort of traffic problems anywhere else, and she's quite right. Chichester does not do traffic jams. 08459 570057. It's the wonderful hour, BBC Southern Counties Radio. Jennifer has emailed. I must just read this very quickly. She corrects me. She says, Cher was born in 1946. I don't think she would like to hear that she is 73. Well, that's what it says, Jennifer, on a website somewhere, but but you know the point that I was making. She is a beautifully preserved human being. It's the wonderful hour. 08459 570057. And Fiona has emailed the programme with what's wonderful. I'll just find this and read it to you. This is good. She says, Tommy, what's wonderful? I have passed another year's worth of exams. After another gruelling year of juggling family life, 3 children under 6, with studying towards a psychology degree, wow, and feeling like it was all going to be a complete waste of time and effort, as I was likely to fail anyway, but I received the news just before Christmas that I passed. Wonderful. No, she says, B*******Y. I think she means bloody fantastic. Of course it is. Well done, Fee. She says it was worth it all, and now I have another year under my belt. Well played. Super. Okay, we'll take a tune from Albert Hammond, a wonderful tune, the Free Electric Band, and then it's time for Drive. You're tuned to BBC Southern Counties Radio for the afternoon. Good afternoon. Albert Hammond and Free Electric Band, and that's about Bob's Your Uncle Fanny's Your Aunt from the afternoon show. Many thanks to Paul Sawtell, who's been a brick Thursday and today. Well done, sir.
Thank you, Oswald.
And hey, it gets better because we've got Drive. We're looking at Drive for Sussex, which is going to be, of course, the wonderful Richard. That's West and East Sussex. And I'm told, and this sounds extremely interesting, that Mark Carter is presenting Surrey and North East Hampshire's Drive show live from Blackpool, which, of course, is where those Shuts are playing your Blackpool in the FA Cup third round tomorrow. So good luck to them, and good luck to Mark, and good luck to Richard. Not that any of those guys need